Today we will be discussing our first topic of ACCA paper F1, and F1 is based on accounting in business. It means in this paper we will learn about the organization. So let's move towards the paper pattern, which is important to understand for student how the examiner will examine this paper. So basically, in this paper, we have two sections, section A and section B. Section A has 46 questions consisting of 1 to 2 marks each. In section B, we have 6 questions consisting of 4 marks each. So in totality, we have 100 marks into this paper. And the duration of this paper is 2 hours. No additional time will be given to any student. And student must need to obtain 50% to pass their exam. Now, after discussing the paper pattern, let me share you about the content of this paper. Basically, in this paper, we have 19 chapters. But to make it simple and interesting, I have designed and separated these chapters into 3 phases. So let's discuss what are 3 phases and what we will learn into these phases. In phase 1, we will learn about an organization need, organization structure, organization strategy, organization's committee, and organization culture. So in phase 1, you will understand how an individual will make the organization and what are the benefit of making the business organization and run your business in the form of an organization. In phase 2, we will learn about the organizational department. As you all know, organization runs with the help of their respective department. In every organization, we can see we have finance department, we have compliance department, we have human resource department, we have marketing department, we have administration department, and so on. So basically, all these departments help us, the organization, to grow and to achieve their respective goal. So in this phase, we will learn these departments: compliance, finance, human resource, and marketing. In phase 3, we will learn about the business environment. In this phase, we have 2 types of environment. First, micro environment, and second, macro environment. So basically, I have covered all these 19 chapters into 3 phases. So it will give you the easy understanding about this paper. So you will be achieve your target and pass this paper in an effective manner. So let's move towards our first phase, in which we will learn about the business organization and their stakeholders. So first, let me tell you about what do we mean by an organization. Basically, organization is a tool which people use to achieve their desired goal and objective. And organization also has some essential characteristics, and these characteristics are social arrangement, separate boundaries, control performance, and collective goals. As you have seen the word social arrangement. It means it is preferred to live with a community rather than alone. So when this term comes in an organization, it means that In an organization, every individual is gathered for a particular purpose. For example, those who are attending my lectures, we both are working together to pass this exam or this paper, but our roles are different. So, our second question is, why do we need an organization? Or we can say, why do an organization exist? Organization exists because of three reasons. First, individual limitation. Second, specialization. And last, synergy. Basically, being an individual, we cannot perform everything by our own, so we need someone to help us. Same as organization need specialized people because they know everything about the work. It means we need some specialized people to achieve a certain goal. For example, being an ACCA student. In ACCA, we have 14 paper to pass. And being a qualified person, I can teach every paper. But I have some specialization in my core subject. For example, I have specialized in F1, F3 and F8. So I am very much sure when I am teaching this paper, it will be more easy and more efficient to teach instead of teaching other paper. So to pass this paper, you need a specialized person who have a grip on this paper, and the person will give you the comfort zone to understand the concept and pass this exam. In last, we have synergy. Basically, synergy means working together. And how synergy will give us the benefit? While working together, we can save our time, we can share our knowledge, and the work efficiency will be increased because we are working together. For example, if you will study this paper by your own self, it will take lots of time to cover the entire syllabus. But while you taking this lecture, it will increase our efficiency, and this synergy will give you the benefit to cover this entire syllabus in a short period. So hope you understand why do we need an organization and why do organization exist. Both questions are same. Our third question is, what organization does? Basically, organization do multiple things. For example, agriculture, manufacturing, extracting raw material, producing an energy, providing a service as a retailer, provide a services, and last, intellectual, like lawyers, accountant, or any other facilities. So basically, we have an organization, and organization can do multiple things. There is an organization who is only responsible for extracting raw materials. So basically, it's up to the organization how they will run their businesses. Now, moving towards, let me explain you the concept of NGO. NGO means non-governmental organization. These organizations are neither a part of the government nor funded by the government. But NGO also do budgeting and planning because it shows a transparency of work. Sometimes they will get grant. People who are working together, people who are serving their services, either they are paid or they work voluntarily. NGO supports, for example, saving tree, providing medical aid, and helping a poor people. So as we can see, in our current area we have so many NGOs. Those are giving their best to help people without having an intention of maximization of profit. Now, our fourth question is about public sector and private sector. Basically, features public sector and private sector. Now, what do we mean by public sector and what do we mean by private sector? Basically, private sector is run and controlled by an individual. Private sector is completely different because they run their businesses with the aim of profit maximization. For example, accounting firm, dentists, and IT developers. In our next slide, I will be sharing you the advantages and giving you the list of the advantages as well. But public sector is owned and controlled by state. Being a public sector, they focuses on army, fire force, school, law enforcement and state infrastructure. Instead of profit maximization, their sole purpose is to increase the living standard of their population. You also can see what I have said is written in front of you. Now, let me share you some detailed knowledge about the public sector. Why public sector are more beneficial for the population? Because public sector is more accountable than a private sector. They public sector run their businesses and provide the services as per the demand of the population. And simultaneously, public sector can easily raise their fund through taxes. Let me show you the chart in which we have accountability, demand for services, and funding. So as I said, public sector can easily raise their fund by raising the tax, making charges and borrowing money from the other countries as well. Now, what are the advantages of having the public sector and what are the disadvantages of having the public sector? Basically, this slide will tell you about the advantages and disadvantages of the public sector. In advantages, we have 6 advantages, and let me explain you one by one. As I said, the purpose of running the public sector is only to support population and increase their living standard. So their work is pretty much fair enough and trustworthy, and they are trying to fill the gap of expectation. For example, private sector is not responsible to build a bridge or road or increasing the street lights. So basically these kind of work will cover under the public sector. As I said, they always work on a public interest. They have cheap source of finance. Raising tax is a cheap source of finance, and we will be discussing when we will be learning about the organizational department. This point will be covered in detail in our when we will learn about the organization department. But now it is suitable to understand that raising tax is cheaper source of finance. As I said, they work efficiently because they have no restriction of doing their work. Private sector has so many restrictions. If they need, if private sector wants to start some operation or extend their business, they need a permission from government. But public sector does not need some sort of does not need to follow some sort of restriction as private sector, because they are running under the umbrella of state. The disadvantages are accountability. Because the accountability is so high of public sector, me as an individual, me as a person of this state cannot easily ask to my state that why they are increasing the tax and why they are doing these sort of work, and basically these sort of work is not suitable and not efficient for me, so I cannot ask. For example, if I'm not giving you my lecture on time, so you can easily ask me, so why are you not providing us the lecture? But if this lecture is providing by the state, so it is impossible, or I can say it is hard to ask the state to provide you the lecture of ACCA paper F1. And secondly, they have so many interference in the term of political parties and pressure groups, and especially cost is the major issue for the public sector, because private sector are running their business as a profit maximization, so they can easily overcome and they can easily cover their cost. But public sector cannot achieve that sort of profit, so they are I can say they are struggling to overcome their cost price. So basically they have an issue of cost. Moving towards, we have a concept of limited companies. Basically, to understand the concept of limited company, first we need to understand about the term limited. Limited means a company whose owners are legally responsible for its debt only to the extent of the amount of capital they have invested. For example, if you borrowed a money from bank and you are saying them that this loan is comes under the umbrella of limited liability, it means when, if in case when you will not have that amount of money to pay your loan, at that time bank cannot ask about your private assets. They can only ask for your those assets to whom you bought uh, the asset. For example, let me explain you another version, another example. If you borrow 10,000 rupees, $10,000 or 10,000 rupees to buy a motorcycle. For example, now you are not being able to pay them back. So bank in this case, bank will only ask you to about this bike, and if you are not able to pay them back in the form of cash, they will only get your bike to compensate the loan. They will not ask about your personal mobile, personal home accessories, or etc. They will only ask and they will only get the motorcycle, because the amount you have borrowed from them, you only bought a motorcycle. So basically the amount they have given to you is the equal to the bike. And in this limited company, we have two areas: private limited companies and public limited companies, or we can say we have two types of limited companies. Private limited companies basically are those companies which are run by the directors, and their shares cannot be traded in stock exchange. But public limited company can trade or sell or buy their shares in the stock market. So they both have some advantages and disadvantages. So let's discuss one by one. Basically, having a public limited company will give you the more investment, more amount to invest. If you are trading your shares into stock exchange, you have more money available to invest into your business, and you can easily grow your business because you have so many investors to invest. Second is, you can reduce your risk by using the umbrella of limited company. If you are limited, or in case if you will be unable to pay your debt, so the bank will all the bank can also ask you about those amount which they have given to you. And third is separate legal entity. This point will also be covered in your ACCA paper F3. In that area, we will be discussing this heading in the umbrella of business entity concept. Every business has their own personality. And last, we have no restriction on size if we are running a public limited company. Now, after discussing the advantages, let's move towards the disadvantages. In this, we have two types of advantages, or we can say three disadvantages of having limited companies. And those disadvantages are: they have high legal compliance cost, shareholder have little power, and it is sometime for those who are new into this business cannot attract the investor to invest into their firm or into their project. So basically, these are some sort of disadvantages of having a limited company. Till here, or till this area, we have covered everything except stakeholder. Stakeholder means a person, or we can say group, that has interest or concern in an organization. Stakeholder can affect or can be affected by the organization actions, objective, and policies. To make it simple, I am sharing you the types of stakeholder. First, we have internal stakeholders. Second, we have connected stakeholders. Third, we have external stakeholders. In internal stakeholders, we have employees and management. In connected stakeholders, we have government and pressure groups. I'm sorry, this is a mistake. Basically, all these things, for example, customer, supplier, will be part of external, not in internal. In internal, we have in connected we have government and pressure groups, but in external we have customers, suppliers, shareholders, and bank. So basically, you can while noting the notes, writing down the notes, what you will do, you will just simply let me mark you. You just simply do this. Just mention these points into here and these point into there. So it will be good while revising the topic. Now, internal and connected are comes or say as a are known as a primary sector. External stakeholders are known as secondary stakeholders. Now, the last question of this lecture is, what is stakeholder mapping? Basically, stakeholder mapping is a process of finding out the key stakeholders relating to a project. The process involves identifying all individuals who have an interest in project outcome. On your screen, you can see a graph. On the x-axis, we have interest. On y-axis, we have power. Now, the person who made this concept of mapping is Menlo. What he did, he just segregated or separated or divided this graph into 4 blocks. In our first block, we have those stakeholders which are important and which we need to keep them satisfied. Then we have those stakeholders to whom we need to manage them closely. Then we have those stakeholders to whom we need to monitor. And in last, we have those stakeholders to whom we need to keep them informed. So, let me show you to whom we need to keep them satisfied. In this heading, we have tax authority and government. In manage closely, we have local council. While monitoring these stakeholders, in this we have competitors or local companies. Basically, both are same. Local companies and competitors are same. While running your business, you can also monitor your competitor, so you can achieve, or we can say you will provide the same or good amount of good amount of goods to your customers, so you can stay in the environment, or we can say you can stay flow with the business. In last, we have local resident. Now in our next class, we will be solving, as I said, after completing every topic, we will be solving the exam practice question. So till then, thank you so much for joining this lecture. Hope you understand this lecture. And if in case you have any query or question, you can ask me on my live query session, in which I will be there to answer your queries and questions. So till then, take care of yourself. Thank you so much.